new report from the library details a shift in focus and a big jump in visitor numbers. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Thunder Bay Public Library has released its 2023 report, highlighting more of a focus on programming and events.
Officials say it's the next chapter in how the library services the community. Vasilios Bellos is following the story. Vasilios, what were some of the other highlights of the report?
Yeah, one of the bigger findings, Ryan, was that the library saw 3 times as many visitors last year compared to 2022. Now, the release of this report comes just 1 month before the library presents its master facilities plan to City Council. That'll propose a centralized location at the mall and the potential closure of neighborhood branches. The Thunder Bay Public Library continues to shift how it services the community.
So much more than books, and I think more and more people are really finding that out for themselves.
The library released its 2023 report to the public, outlining what it's calling a very successful year. The library saw 3 times as many visits last year than in 2022 and offered more than 2,100 free programs to the public. That's nearly double the amount as the year before. This comes as the Thunder Bay Public Library moves into the next chapter of how it services the community. CEO Richard Togman says this is the trend across the country and will benefit local users.
Shift to programming-driven library service and really needing to anchor ourselves in the social and communal life in the community and not exclusively be that quiet reading space that, has been in the traditional library space.
The report's release comes a month before the library is set to present its master facilities plan to City Council. It proposes a centralized location at Intercity Shopping Centre and could result in the closure of some neighborhood branches. Togman says a new centralized location would be beneficial in helping the library focus more on programming.
Our buildings need to match that. Right, we don't use horse and buggy anymore, but that's the age when Brody Library was built. Right, 1912 was the horse and buggy era. So we've modernized quite a bit as a society since that time, and it's time our library infrastructure did as well.
The library has held public consultation opportunities to learn more about the centralized location. Togman says the individuals that attended those sessions have grown more willing to support the project. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Thunder Bay drivers can expect some delays and closures at one of the city's busiest intersections over the next month or so. Work is set to begin on Tuesday at the corner of Memorial Avenue and the Harbour Expressway. The city is rebuilding the existing traffic signals and associated underground infrastructure, as well as repaving the intersection. There will be partial lane closures for several weeks. Work requiring the intersection to be fully closed will take place in the evening and overnight hours from May 28th to June 3rd, and again from June 25th to the 26th. City project engineer Matthew Miedema explains why the upgrades are required.
So the traffic signals here just have reached end of life, so they're due for renewal. You'll see some of the overhead spans that have already failed at the intersection here, so we need to replace those wiring and just bring it back up to standard, making it operating easier for maintenance purposes.
The $500,000 project is scheduled to be done at the end of June, depending on weather and other construction factors.
And as construction season arrives, Synergy North is also asking motorists to drive cautiously around its workers. The utility has relaunched its Hit the Brakes, Not Us program, which promotes safety around roadside repair zones. The campaign highlights the shared responsibility of workers and motorists to ensure everyone gets home safely. This year's campaign features a video designed to showcase what it's like to work in traffic. Over the next few weeks, Synergy North will also have a Hit the Brakes pit crew that will be at various public events to share the message. Spokesperson Amy Kemble says they originally started the campaign after hearing concerns from their workers.
It came actually from our staff sharing incidents that were happening, near hits out in the community where sometimes all that's separating them from the traffic is a pylon. So unfortunately we can't control the drivers, but we can educate them and we can try to share the perspective that it's really important that this is somebody's workplace. When they see these signs, they recognize that they need to slow down, that somebody's working here.
More information about the Hit the Brakes program can be found on Synergy North's Facebook page.
Dubbed by the province as a corridor to prosperity, the proposed all-season road to Martin Falls and Webequie is supposed to unlock the economic benefits of the Ring of Fire mineral deposits.
But will the First Nations be ready for the work that's expected to come their way? They're now partnering with the North Superior Workforce Planning Board to make sure they are. Lee Noonan has the story.
Martin Falls and Webequie First Nations are working with the North Superior Workforce Planning Board to develop an employment readiness strategy. Their aim is to prepare the members of both communities for the economic growth that's expected with the construction of all-season roads and the development of mining industry in their territories.
We have to prepare for that. If we can't prepare our young people with education or whatever, it has to be now. It has to be now.
The Workforce Planning Board is collecting data from community members in both First Nations on their work and educational experiences, as well as their needs and aspirations.
They face the challenges of getting training, and because they live in the remote community, it's hard for them to come out and live in Thunder Bay or wherever they choose to do the training. It's hard for them because they can't find housing and income.
We're going to do a market study and see, okay, what's everybody interested in doing? What would they thought their careers are going to be? What are the issues that they deal with? I mean, there could be support services that are needed. There are simple things. We've heard a lot of discussions around getting a bank card, getting a driver's license, getting a birth certificate. Those things are critical in order to get into the workforce. So those right off the bat are key things that have to be addressed.
Although mining development is driving the initiative, the plan won't be limited to job readiness in that industry.
We're going to develop pathways. So we're hoping to do quite a few pathways where they can take this and say, here's what you can do if you want to be this particular person. If you want to be a mechanic, here's what you got to do. You want to be a band manager, or maybe you want to be an accountant, or you want to be a musician or an artist. So we're going to give them these options so they can look at and see what they have to do as an individual.
In both Webequie and Martin Falls, youth under 14 make up more than a third of the population, and making sure they have the tools to succeed in the workforce is a big part of the initiative.
It's to empower our youth to get employed and hoping that they could achieve what their goal is.
More information gathering sessions are being held on reserve in various municipalities and at the region's high schools. The results will be presented to the First Nations in about a year, and from there, next steps will be developed. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
A Rainy River First Nations youth was taken to hospital yesterday after a serious incident involving a loose dog in Manitou Rapids. According to the First Nation, the victim was taken to the emergency room. They're now urging dog owners to comply with safety guidelines that require all dogs to be tied up or kept within fenced areas effective immediately. The First Nation is also reminding dog owners that they are legally responsible for any harm caused by their dogs.
A pair of loaded handguns have been removed from the streets of Thunder Bay after separate arrests by City Police and OPP this week. The first seizure occurred at a business location on Oliver Road on Tuesday. OPP say the Provincial Guns and Gangs team arrested a 22-year-old Toronto man and confiscated one handgun, 8 rounds of ammo, and a kilogram of a drug-cutting agent. The accused is facing weapon charges. Then on Thursday, Thunder Bay Police executed a search warrant on Frederica Street. A loaded handgun, cocaine, fentanyl, and cash were seized. 3 young men from Toronto were arrested for drug trafficking and other charges. Premier Doug Ford added his voice to the province's strong stance against drug decriminalization in the City of Toronto.
And it seems to have worked. We've just found out within the last half hour or so that the federal government has denied Toronto's request for decriminalization. As CTV's Siobhan Morris tells us, there were a number of letters that preceded that decision.
The flurry of letters began with a note to Toronto's top doctor, sent by Ontario's Minister of Health and Solicitor General.
And we don't want to have a failed experiment happen right here in our Toronto.
Taking a firm stand against Toronto's application to decriminalize possession of small quantities of drugs.
I will fight this tooth and nail.
Next, a missive from the Premier to the Prime Minister, demanding a review of safe supply sites and to require buy-in from provinces, like Justin Trudeau said mattered for decriminalization.
We need to work with all partners, including provinces, on any proposals.
Then the mayor's office got to typing.
I'm releasing a letter
asking other levels of government to collaborate to tackle the drug toxicity epidemic killing 500 Torontonians a year.
I think we need to look at the person
rather than the substance itself.
The letter includes a list of things Toronto would like help with.
24/7 crisis beds in the city. Because right now our emergency are inundated with people who are suffering from addictions.
The letter also calls for teamwork on expanded access to treatment for all kinds of substance use, more supportive housing, wraparound social supports and referrals, and evaluation and monitoring to lead to permanent long-term funding. Moyes can't say what all of this might cost.
But I can say to you, doing nothing actually costs us more. It affects our hospitals, it affects our shelters, it affects all our programming.
Right down to cleanup for parks.
A third of the people that are homeless, that are in our shelters, want drug treatment program.
Moyes pleads with the province to look at what's working when it comes to safe supply.
The programs we have in Toronto right now has saved thousands of lives. And without it, it would be a lot worse.
Moyes doesn't see the need to formally withdraw Toronto's application for decriminalization. He says with the province not on side, it's clear it's an ask not going anywhere. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
And as a reminder that the federal government has actually denied Toronto's decriminalization request that we just found out. Switching to more local news, good news when it comes to the City of Thunder Bay's financial health. The municipality's AA+ credit rating has been reaffirmed for the third year in a row. The rating comes from S&P Global. A strong credit rating allows the city to finance large infrastructure projects and keep debt repayment costs down. City Treasurer Carrie Greaves says the AA credit rating confirms that the city's financial position remains strong and that we have a solid foundation to continue to be able to deliver the services and infrastructure that residents and businesses rely on.
Organizers of the Wake the Giant Music Festival have announced the mystery performer for the big concert coming up in September. The rest of the lineup was revealed about 2 weeks ago, but the afternoon headliner had been kept secret until now.
Before we turn it to a mouth, so it to heads. I hope to God I love you harder.
Yeah, that's local Coleman Hell. He performed at the inaugural Wake the Giant in 2019, and the Thunder Bay artist has agreed to come back for the festival's 5-year birthday bash. He's best known for his hit song Two Heads, which accumulated more than 150 million streams on Spotify and is certified 4 times platinum here in Canada and gold in the US. He was a fan favorite in 2019, and the organizers say they're thrilled to bring him back to perform again. Wake the Giant is a community event to support students at Dennis Franklin Cromartie High School, and it's set to go at Marina Park on September 14th.
The Lakehead Public School Board held its annual Grade 8 Awards of Excellence last night. It recognized student dedication to education, involvement in activities, and willingness to make their school a better place. Friends, family, and faculty were all on hand to celebrate the 21 students. The awards are presented to one Grade 8 student from each school in the public board. Claire McCartney was the winner for École Grand Morgan. Along with being strong academically, she's involved in a number of extracurriculars, including cheer and cross-country running.
A lot of work went into it, and I worked very hard this year, so I feel proud about that, but I also feel very honored to have been able to participate in stuff that I enjoy doing, and that I was able to receive this award through that.
It's just a special feeling because it justifies, it confirms all of the hard work that they do as students and all the discipline that it takes to be at this level, and so we're really happy to give that recognition.
And congratulations to those winners. All right,
Absolutely.
Let's turn our attention to the weather now, Haley. Yesterday, we were well under seasonal values, and today we're right around seasonal.
Yes, congratulations
Moving
to
on.
us. No, I've been feeling good. I've been excited about this all day. We are at seasonal values. 17 is our high, and we're sitting pretty at it right now. So it feels good. And, you know, we did have about a 30% chance of showers for most of the day today, but we avoided it. So mostly cloudy, no sprinkles on us just yet. I can't promise that moving forward, but good to see that the clouds today were white and fluffy with little breaks of blue sky in there as well. So very, very good to see. And winds a little breezy at times, but nothing too significant. Now, the big question on everyone's mind, is the rain coming for the long weekend? Well, let's look at what we've seen so far today. So we had pockets over to the west of us and some sporadic pockets over to the east. To the east, it showed up more as mist and fog, whereas the systems that we see to the west are the ones that we're going to be looking at moving forward, as they could be moving into the region. So I'll have more details as to what could be coming a little later, but let's look at the region right now, because we're already starting to see a little bit of drizzle in Red Lake. They were partly cloudy for most of the day, but now they're seeing a little bit of those showers. They're at 19 right now, and we see a string of 19 in Kenora, Dryden, and Atikokan as well. Most areas to the west of us saw either a few clouds or a mix of sun and cloud. Fort Frances, they had a few clouds here and there, and they're still sitting at about a 30% chance of showers right now. Upsala 17, 18 in Sioux Lookout. They had some light rain in the early hours of the morning, but they've just been a mix of sun and cloud for most of the day. It's actually Pickle Lake, that's the colder area of the region, and has been seeing more consistent light showers throughout the day today. Armstrong saw some morning rain, but then it just turned kind of cloudy and misty. Similar to that in Greenstone, they're both at 14 right now. And Greenstone has started to see a little bit of sun peeking out, but they've been foggy and misty for most of the day. And it's actually Marathon that's in the interesting situation right now, because they're actually under a fog advisory. It's been foggy, misty there all day, and you can see that temperature. They're at 6 right now, and they haven't gotten much higher than that during the day. They're consistently lower than the rest of the region today, so it's quite an interesting little pocket there. Over in Wawa, they're a little below seasonal right now. They're at 12 degrees. But Sault Ste. Marie's sticking to seasonal, and they're a mix of sun and cloud right now, seeing some normality there. But over to Thunder Bay once again, as we look towards the evening hours, we're going to drop down to 6 tonight, and we'll have that 30% chance of showers still leading up to the midnight hour. Tomorrow we may increase a little bit, but for the nighttime, it'll be mainly cloudy, not too many winds, but I will have more details on that rain coming up.
Okay, thank you so much, Haley. I've got my fingers crossed that we might be able to not see
good
too
moments.
much. Yeah, just
I
a
won't
few
deny
moments.
you the whole long weekend.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Well, when we come back, we will start our focus in Ontario, where it's been confirmed the first measles death in more than a decade. We'll have more on that as your Friday News Hour continues.
No one's surprised that if you see a lapse in routine childhood immunizations, that shortly after you're going to see a resurgence of these vaccine-preventable illnesses.